Hi, True Crime Grapevine fans. It's me, Patty Lee, here at the True Crime Grapevine in my crime corner. And I just wanted to do a quick live stream, especially this goes out to Ick and Mel. Mel, I want you and your crowdsourcing group to check this out. So, as you guys know, I watch all, I mean, maybe you don't know, so I'll tell you. I watch all the YouTubers and then I do my own like little research. I was a PhD student in educational psychology, which means I study how people think and their motivations. And that's typical people. I didn't really study abnormal psychology except for like learning problems, but it gives me an idea about motivations and especially development. And yeah. So, and personality. That's one of the things I took courses in. So, why is that a big deal? Well, let me just tell you, there are a lot of overlap between BCK, Bryan Christopher Kohlberg, and BTK. Number one is he studied under Catherine Ramsland, Ramsland. And Catherine is not talking right now. And if you watch the Confessions of a Serial Killer, BTK, that came out last January, it was an A&E documentary, and you can find it on YouTube. You will know why she's freaked out. Let me just sort of tell you. The first thing I was thinking of is I was in the bathtub reading, and I was listening really quickly to News Nation and Joe Scott Morgan, who I love, and I think he's a death investigator. He's a medical person, and I think he's got great advice and information about a lot of these things. But he's a doctor. He's not a psychologist, and I think this makes a little bit of difference because he was stating that BCK Brian is 28, and that we need to look back because obviously, and I've heard a lot of people say that, and I even said, like, has he killed before? This seems like a big thing to start with. Guess who else started at 28? Oh, that's right, it was Dennis Rader, BTK, Bind, Torture, Kill. Oh, the person that his mentor at his undergraduate and master's degree he studied under. He took classes with this Mrs. or excuse me, Mrs. Bite my tongue, Dr. Ramsland. That's who she studied. She studied BTK, and on the documentary, it says that she studied for 5 years and compiled information for this documentary that came out in 2022. Okay, we'll think back 5 years. It takes at least 2 years to get your master's, and to finish your undergrad, Brian had a few probably credits that transferred from his community college, but that's about 5 years. Did he help Dr. Lambsland? I'm sure she spoke about her work and people. Here's the scary thing. Not only did they both commit the first crime at 28, but they both killed four people. Four people, both BTK and BCK. Coincidence? I don't know. He's studying under the woman who studied BTK while she was getting ready to write a documentary, probably talking his classes. We've seen his questionnaire. Do we think it's unusually too much of a coincidence to think this dude was modeling himself? His role model is Dennis Rader, BTK. He starts at the same age. They both make the same number of kills, four people. And they both leave a dog alive. BTK left a dog named Lucky outside the Ortez house. And we know that the suspected killer, we're going to call him suspected because he is innocent until proven guilty, but the person arrested, BCK, left a dog alive. So everybody's like, how did he choose? Like, why did he do this? And he must have done things before and he was old. The other thing I found out was if you just Google and hashtag, as you know, I like to say, hashtag Google that shit, you can find out the FBI's data on serial killers. And 28 actually isn't really old. Most serial killers start at 27.5 years old. So Ted Bundy also started in 74, and he was, if you work it out, he was 28 for his first kill. So now, in starting with 4, everybody's like, couldn't have been his first time. It was for BTK. I just think that's a lot of similarities, leaving the dog alive, the same number. Um, m- Being under the same person. And we know that BTK left letters for the police, taunting them, making them feel like they were little people. He was in control. The police were stupid. They couldn't do anything to stop him. Similarly, how do you think Dr. Ramsland feels right now? She spent her life saying profiling serial killers. Her goal in this documentary is to identify and stop serial killers maybe before it can happen. And I will tell you, both BTK and other serial killers have said they had these urges from the time they were very small children. And then they control them, and it seems like something happens. And I don't know if you've ever been on a diet, but like where you go, you know what, I can feel it. I'm just gonna eat whatever I want, and then you like just do it on a greater scale. It seems as if I believe also. I'm thinking of the serial killer from Ohio, the cannibal. We all know him. I'm getting a D in my name. What is his name? The one whose dad wrote a book about it with him. He also said, it'll come to my mind as soon as I don't think about it. He also said he had these feelings since he was very young, and then all of a sudden at 18 acted on them. So um, we have that. I think he embarrassed Dr. Ramsland because he sort of made a fool out of her, like how BTK made a fool out of the police. And let's not forget, he made a fool out of, like, when people were saying stuff about Chief Fry. I mean, God knows what he was doing on the internet, stoking that whole, oh, they're not smart enough. It's too small of a town. They'll never catch him. I think it's a role model. I think there's lots of overlays. The fact that his professor studied that guy. So why 4 people at the first time? Why 28? Why leave the dog alive? BTK, BCK. All right, I will be back for my I'm going to watch the rest of this documentary, and I will be back for on my nightcap because there's a few things that we have to catch on other cases as well. But I just had to say that, and I wanted to tape this quickly so I could send it out to Ickenmel because I think he and his crowdsourcing, I bet they'll find even more overlays between the how I believe Brian Christopher Kohlberger, BCK, used BTK as his role model. I mean, I think it was purposeful. And I think he may even have purposefully, he had that friend in high school, reportedly, who said that, after he lost all the weight and he did something, maybe taking drugs, something that made him more aggravated and mean, that he was cruel and he was intelligent and he would like sort of lord it over other people like, oh, you're an idiot. Let me just tell you. This is kind of like doing that to the person he wanted to be. He wanted to be a professor of criminology. And so he screwed her over completely by making it makes a fool out of her. Not really, because unfortunately, she seems like a very nice lady, but she wanted to get away from the idea that serial killers were like these odd ducks. I mean, she probably purposefully took Brian under her wing because he was so odd and probably was bullied and acted differently. And her big thing was that Dennis Rader was a family man and blah blah blah. But sometimes a duck walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and is a duck, a serial killing duck. And he used her and her knowledge to do the very thing that she was trying to prevent. So if you want to talk about really turning the tables and making a fool out of somebody or trying to. I mean, I don't think she's a fool. Obviously, who expects a serial killer, whatever, but he, like Dennis Rader, wanting to make the police look inept and like fools. I think also the Golden State Killer also did that, and the Zodiac Killer. We know Ted Bundy, they want to appear superior and smarter. And what better way than to take your mentors major case that she's working on and how she's got it figured out, and to be like, little do you know, I'm right under your nose and you didn't catch me. What do you think? Put it in the comments. All right, that's all I'm gonna say for right now. I will see you tonight. Oh, by the way, even for this little thing though, I did make a Moscow Mule. It's my new favorite drink. Mm. Uh, and let's raise a cup to Maddie Mogan and Kaylee Goncalves and oh, that's the other thing I want to remember. And Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernoldo. Kernoldo. Sorry, dyslexia, as we know. Let me just take another sip. Mm, it's ginger beer, limeade, actual lime juice, and yeah, Tito's. It's fabulous. When I said Goncalves, it reminded me the other thing about BTK, the son that found his family, the Ortiz oldest son, was saying his family, everybody loved them. His mom and dad were in love. They lived to their fullest together. They had, he said, what everybody had. They lived together, loved together, and died together. And wow, doesn't that remind you of what Stephen Goncalves said about Maddie and Kaylee, that they lived together, grew up together, and they died together. So it's really weird. These are two groups of people that everybody wanted, like, to have the happiness that they had in their life. And one, BTK, just ruined it for the whole family and took their happiness. And in this other hand, these four kids. And maybe that's why the two in the basement weren't bothered. He wanted to do four because he needed to do four, like his mentor, because he was mirroring that, letting the dog live, just like BTK let the dog Lucky live, which is kind of interesting name. Anyways, all right, let me know what you think. I will see you guys tonight at about 11 for our nightcap. Bye.